at the movies with Tim Sika. Tim, it's Friday. Here you are. Yay!
Hey, hi Kim, how you
Hi,
doing?
good. How are you today?
Pretty good. Been seeing some
Good.
really interesting movies this week.
Yeah, you have a lot of them to talk about. One of them you didn't see, and I was so happy when you sent me this message that you didn't see the movie Never Let Go because were having an intense week, and I'm like, that is good self-care, Tim Sika.
Yeah, yeah, but you know it's so funny. I forgot that I had already seen one. I think I told you too. I think I had seen one of which we're going to talk about. It's called The Substance. It was so intense. I just think I just automatically like subconsciously blocked the fact of going to
Mm.
any other one because The Substance. Oh my God.
Is this a horror movie? Oh, look at her back. Yeah, that's got to be a horror movie. Eek.
Yeah, it's a trip. In fact, trippy is the best way to describe it. It's this how do I describe it? It's a hallucinogenic feminist body horror movie. All right, that's what it's about, and it deals with this actress, this Academy Award winning actress played by Demi Moore. It's nice to see her back on screen again.
Yeah.
And, she plays this character, the host of this popular aerobics exercise show. When you watch this, I thought, and I bet on some level, this movie was inspired by Jane Fonda and her. Remember the Jane Fonda workout?
Oh, I
Uh,
had it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Well, that's when this starts. You go, oh, Jane Fonda. Oh no, that's not Jane Fonda. And then the whole thing kind of reminds you of Jane Fonda, Academy Award winning actress, sort of middle aged, pushing towards 50. Anyway,
Hmm.
the lady that she plays, that Demi Moore plays, is a famous award-winning actress. But as she turns 50, she's being given the axe, right? She's fired from the show that she hosts because the producers, surprise, surprise, want to replace her with somebody younger.
Of course.
Every female actress in Hollywood is familiar with this tale, right? So
Hmm.
anyway, this fired fading celebrity decides to use this black market drug. It's a cell replicating substance, the substance of the title, that temporarily, at least for 1 week at a time, creates this younger, better version of herself. And that younger, better version of herself is played by Margaret Qualley. Both she and Moore are great in this movie. But also, surprise, surprise, from this cell replicating substance, there are, let's just say, unwanted side effects, which morph into horrifying
Oh
side
no.
effects. And the substance is some ride, believe you me, some trip. It's thrillingly entertaining for one, but also if you look deeper, it's sort of like this cautionary tale about plastic surgery, and ask these questions like
Hmm.
should people in the public eye even do it, and if they
Yeah.
do it, how much is enough? You know, the movie was written and directed by a French filmmaker, Coralie Farzah, who's probably best known for this other movie, this revenge, intense rape and revenge thriller called Revenge. It was called, and you can see it on AMC Plus. It's streaming if anybody wants to check it out. But this movie, The Substance, was a sensation at Cannes. I've been hearing so many things about this movie. It won the Best Screenplay prize over there, and then it was followed by another sensational screening at the Toronto International Film Festival. And yeah, this is another one of those movies, Kim, perhaps like a template one where the least you know about it going in the better.
Okay.
It's a body horror movie, so a warning to the squeamish. It's very cinematic, which is to say, much of it is told through images, and it's primarily a fasten your seatbelts kind of entertainment. But it also addresses the question, have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? With the emphasis here on a better physical version of yourself. And if you have and haven't, we all entertain that thought from time to time. I would recommend to people that just leave it there. Don't waste your energy wishing you look better or younger or whatever the hell somebody else thinks you should look like. Accept who you are, what you look like, embrace
Yeah.
all of you, and screw those who think otherwise, or screw those who are projecting their notion of beauty upon you.
Right.
Now, having said that, it's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you're in a profession like the movies where looks are everything. But anyway, this is a hell of a movie. It's bold, it's brilliant, it's bloody,
Mm.
and it's one of the very best films of the year. I would have dismissed it if it wasn't so seemingly of substance. There's a lot kicking around in this movie. It's horrifying and it's gross and it's disgusting. But you don't mind being put through the mill. I didn't mind being put through the mill at all. Because when it was over, I felt like, somebody had, a mule had kicked me in the head. But it kind of woke me up and made me go, oh, okay. It's that kind of film. So, pick your poison. Yeah.
Makes me sad. You see the lengths that mostly women will go to be younger,
Yeah.
to stay pretty, right?
Yeah.
To be what we're to keep for as long as possible
Yeah.
the beauty that society says we ought to have, to look
Yeah.
like that men
BS.
think we need to
Yeah.
look like in order
Yeah.
to be successful. It's makes me sad. And I know this is totally unrelated, kind of. I have this decision to make as gray strands come into my hair. Do I
Do you
dye
diet?
it
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
stay youthful looking for longer, or do I just embrace the fact that the silver strands are coming in, and this is part of who I am now? You
Yeah.
know,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
why cover it up? This is it.
Yeah, well, that's kind of always been my sense. And as far as actresses goes, I know these are exceptions, but Meryl Streep never had plastic surgery. Katharine Hepburn never had plastic surgery. Betty Davis never had plastic surgery. Audrey Hepburn never had plastic surgery. So, I guess it depends. It depends on who you are. It depends on a lot of things. Yeah, it is a simple question, but there's really, I think, sometimes no simple solution to the answer.
In part of our lives, actresses, not that I am one, we're going to be and play the daughter. In part of our lives, we're going to be the young woman falling in love. In part of our lives, we're going to be the mother, the grandmother, the old woman. This is just a natural progression of things.
Yeah.
So I guess it's hard when you have to go from the young woman to the mother, or the mother to the grandmother, just like it is for us in life to deal with it.
Right,
But
right.
this whole getting surgery and faking it. You mentioned all these actresses that never had the surgery. Some of them that do, they don't look quite right.
They don't. No, they don't. They look kind of freakish.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, look at the conversation and the discussion this movie has generated, and you haven't even seen it.
Nope.
Right? You haven't even seen the movie. So
No.
yeah, but yeah, it's a great movie to go to see with friends and then go out afterwards and talk about what you saw if you can still breathe. It's so intense. I mean, it is so friggin' intense.
Wow.
And it's insane. It's insane, and yet it follows this logical progression. You're into it, you're going, but every now and then you're just going, holy cow, from what kind of mind did this movie emerge? But
Wow.
I think it deserves a Academy nominations for film, director, and screenplay, at least, if not for
a horror movie.
Yeah. Well, because
Wow.
it's more, it is a horror movie, but in a way that's kind of it's a little dismissive of it, because it's actually more than a horror movie. It's a body horror movie. Well, I don't know if that helps anybody, but it's very different. It's very unique. It reminds me of David Lynch a little bit, and maybe David Cronenberg and Brian De Palma, those kinds of like body horror movies, but it's very original. It's just different. You can see where maybe the filmmaker's inspirations were or influences were, but it's very much her own movie. It's great. It really is. I even hate saying that. It's great. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Okay.
The next one you have for us is called A Mistake.
Yeah, A Mistake. This is another very good movie, and another written and directed by a woman. Score
right.
another one in that column. I think that we've got one other one directed by a woman. Yeah, women are coming into their own. Anyway, this one was directed by New Zealand filmmaker Christine Jeffs. Her first movie, actually, in like 16 years. Previously, she had done this movie called Sunshine Cleaning. Have you ever seen that? It was released in 2008. It's a really funny film about a pair of sisters who start this cleaning business specifically for crime scenes. It's really funny. Anyway, this one, however, is anything but. It's like a 360 degree turn. It's quite grim, in fact, but it's beautifully done in all departments. It's about a brilliant surgeon, superbly played by Elizabeth Banks, whose picture is up right now, and who makes a decision during this tricky operation that results in an unwanted outcome, let's say. And
Mhm.
so actually what sets everything off here is that a mistake is made, a decision is made during a surgery, which spins into this flurry of actions and reactions on the part of the parents of the patient who was operated on, the hospital administration, and mostly the surgeon herself. Mortality and morbidity meetings are suddenly held by the hospital officials because they go, we got to get to the bottom of this, and that results in potential litigation and a distinguished career, because the woman who did the surgery is quite brilliant. She has this impeccable reputation, is being put in jeopardy. And then there's this parallel plotting that has to do with a new hospital policy that requires more transparency on the part of the hospital and the surgeon when a surgery occurs that involves a publishing of surgical data, which has its own set of challenges anyway. So it's excellent drama, beautifully adapted by the director Christine Jeffs, based on the 2019 novel of the same name. And what I really liked about this film, Kim, echoing one of my colleagues here, is that it's not reductive, this movie. It's complex. It gives room for different attitudes and perspectives on, for example, how to best handle the delicate matter of when something goes wrong with a medical procedure. How do we fairly hold doctors accountable? I was talking to the director recently, and she said, when she was doing research, she talked to surgeons, and she asked the surgeons, like, well, how often does this happen? And they say way too much. So it makes you wonder about. I think the best solution to all that is to, if you can, stay out of hospitals. If you can. I mean, I know sometimes you need to go, but I always often. I had minor surgery once in a hospital,
Mm.
and as I was waiting, I was wondering to myself, like, well, who is this doctor that's going to operate on me?
Mhm.
How are they feeling today? Did they have enough sleep last night? Are they going through a relationship breakup? Just
Right.
wondering, like, how a lot of that, and they make mistakes. Doctors aren't perfect; they're human beings,
Yep.
and then there's a certain amount of risk, I think,
Yeah.
we take as patients when we're giving ourselves over to the care of another individual. Anyway,
Well, you
it
have to sign
presences
the
all of
form.
that.
You have
Yeah,
to sign the surgical form that says, there's always a risk that you might not come out of this.
right. But
Yeah.
then, if something happens, and in a lot of cases, I think the hospital tries to cover it up. Well, at least that's what this movie was seemed to implying.
Hmm.
But in others, no. But the movie presences all of that: hospital bureaucracies, politics, public optics. Doctors' bedsides managed. It's quite powerful. It gets a bit grim, but it's really, really good. And it's a story. It's got great acting, and
Hmm.
it's this story about consequence and accountability and ethics, and it's a great character study too. And in a way, it's a kind of like an acid valentine to the dedicated healer, if that makes any sense. I recommend it. I thought it was terrific.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. I'm writing it down.
Okay.
The next one is called Will and Harper.
Yeah. Have you heard of anything about this one?
Nothing.
this
Mm-mm.
is a hard one for me to talk about because I am 100% trans rights
Hmm.
person in my politics, but I don't think this is a good movie at all.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
so anyway, let me explain. Uh,
Mm.
I don't recall a movie where I took as many notes on as I have with this one, Will and Harper. Maybe you know what's coming, but anyway, Will and Harper charts. Yeah, there's the picture there. Charts the cross country road trip of comedian and actor Will Ferrell and one of the actor's very best friends in the whole world, a guy who collaborated on a lot of projects with Ferrell, including SNL. He wrote a
Okay.
lot of his best stuff. He was one of the show's writers. His name was Andrew Steele. And during the COVID-19 pandemic, Andrew Steele, sent this email to Farrell informing him that Andrew Steele, was going to go through gender reassignment,
Wow.
transitioning from male to becoming female.
Mm.
And the movie is about how that transition affects their friendship. because they were really close friends, and it's like it came out of the blue, right? To Farrell,
Sounds
he's
like it
like,
could be a good movie. I
yeah,
like the premise you've laid
yeah,
out. Yeah.
yes. Okay, yeah. So they go on this road trip together, right across America, so that former male Andrew Steele, now known as female Harper Steele, can experience. She wants to experience all these places that she loved as a male, but now needing to experience them, the places and the people, through the lens of her new identity as a female, with
Sure.
celebrity Farrell, who is
Right.
very famous and recognizable, in tow, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when I think of it, like you said, right, it's a very interesting concept for a film,
Right.
but it drove me kind of bonkers. For one, it's nearly 2 hours. It goes on
Mm.
way too long, and it just keeps repeating the same beats over and over again. It's a very self-conscious movie. Maybe it couldn't have been anything else, but it this is the thing that kind of annoys me about it. I think it deliberately sets itself up, in my opinion, for condemnation of the reality of trans people. At one point, Harper says, when they stop in a Texas town, right? And you're going, okay, you're going to stop in this Texas town, okay, whatever. She says, like, I felt the trans was on display, and that made me feel not great. And that kind of sums up my reaction to this movie. Trans was on display in a very big way in this movie, but it was very, this is a very self-absorbed film. It's very whiny. At
Mm.
times it's downright cringy, only because when you're a trans female looking very much like a man in
Mm-hmm.
drag, and you're going to walk into a Texas bar, you know what's going to happen,
Right.
right? I don't know what you're expecting, but you know the likelihood that you're going to get, hassled is high. But this is probably the most navel gazing movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like watching 2 hours of somebody's therapy, which I
Mm.
think would have even tested the patience of a skilled therapist. I mean, therapy sessions are what, usually 50 minutes or an hour. This movie was 2 hours of that. And as a documentary, too, I found it questionable. A lot of it seemed set up. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of it to me seemed fake, like these situations that Harper and Will subjected themselves to while on this road trip, and comments made by them and by some of the people who spoke on camera. To me, they seemed scripted,
Yeah.
and a lot of it seemed staged. Uh, in other words, the whole thing seemed to be, to me, consciously and strategically constructed in order to create this specific effect, which is okay. But I didn't believe Farrell. I thought he was acting. I thought he was faking it. I thought the way he was asking questions of his friend was weird.
Yeah.
And at one point he cries, and I'm going, yeah, no, it seems fake to me. Okay, this is the other thing. I'm probably going on too long about this
No,
movie,
no, no.
but another thing that would have made it easier for me to get around this whole movie was if it hadn't been so long and repetitious.
Yeah.
And I have this bias. I'm going to admit this publicly, and I know a very important part of the process of gender transitioning is getting used to a new gender identity and a body image and all of that. I get that totally, but only up to a point, because all that focus on gender and sexuality for me, and this is my bias,
Mm-hmm.
it gets tiresome after a while. I think we're more than our gender and more than how we identify sexually. That's all a part of us, and it's a huge part of who we are. But it ain't the only part. And this movie
Mm.
was saying to me that this part, if not the only part, which it seemed to almost be making an argument that
Mm-hmm.
this was the only part. Well, it certainly was the most important part. And I personally find that tiresome. And I
Yeah.
personally disagree. I think we're more than our gender. I think we're more than how we identify sexually. And I know that's another conversation, which is also difficult to have, because these are very sensitive issues and areas
Mm-hmm.
for all of us. But after 40 minutes of this movie, I'm thinking, okay, this is a nice movie. I got it. But how am I going to get through? Oh my God, there's another hour and 15 minutes of this. I mean, and I thought, no. And again, that is my bias. I don't think it's a very good movie, but if the idea and concept seem interesting enough, people should check it out. I don't think it's good. One last thing here. For those looking for a really good recent trans movie, check out that Elliot Page headliner, Close to You, which we talked about
Yeah.
several months ago on the after party, and which you can stream on Prime. That's a really good trans movie. This one, and he also like he meets up with cast members of SNL, and it seems to me that everybody is being so consciously politically correct.
Right.
And I'm going, okay. I have friends, colleagues who saw this movie that even admitted to me that it's a bit cringy.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway,
Well, that's a
I'm
bummer.
sorry. I didn't like Will and
No,
Harper.
no, don't
Yeah.
apologize. Thank you
Yeah.
for saving
Well,
us the time and trouble. Because I know there are a lot of Will Ferrell fans out there who might have thought, "Oh, this Will Ferrell, that looks good." Click.
yeah.
No.
Well. I think it'll have a built-in audience for people that like Will Ferrell.
Mhm.
I would have watched it for Will. I thought the premise was really good. It was just, man, it just was just
There,
repetitious and
there are
repetitious, and yeah.
there are movies that are long where you don't even realize until it's over that gosh, that was a
Yes.
long movie, but they
Yeah.
keep you engaged and entertained. But if you're looking at the clock and it's you're thinking, God, there's another hour and a half, that's not good.
Yeah, long is great if it's
Yeah.
interesting and if you're,
Right.
involved in the story. This
Hmm.
one, yeah, I think it would have made a nice short documentary film, but not a 2 hour, navel gazing fast.
Yeah.
It's just, anyway.
A couple of comments for you. Murphy
Yeah.
says, if the audience reaction is tiresome, it seems like that means they're not charged up over Harper. That it's not a big deal, which is great. It doesn't have to be a big deal.
I don't think it does either. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're all in the end, we're the same. We're
Hmm.
human beings. We're the same. Some of us are straight, some of us are gay, some of us are trans, whatever in the end. And I wish they would have sort of inserted something like that in there. It would have
Hmm.
satisfied me, and it would have stopped me in my tracks from being so crotchety about it. But and the way they did it almost seemed to they wanted to make trans people separate from us, and they're not.
Yeah.
They're in the human community. It's like,
Right.
I just think they did a lot of things weird and questionable with this movie, and I just didn't like it.
Ricky Aubert wants to thank you for always giving us your honesty.
Oh, thanks,
John
Ricky.
John Doe
Thank you.
says, "No, dude, be honest," says John. So that's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Donald the Maine Coon says, "I don't like cringy movies, and to me, Will Ferrell is cringy." I don't know. I
Ah.
mean, Will Ferrell and Elf, the cringy worked there, right?
Yeah, the cringy worked, and he is
Uh-huh.
I think by his own admission, sometimes he's kind of cringy. He's kind of funny in this movie, though. He identifies himself as the comedian and very great actor Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
So there's some laughs, but I don't know. I just wonder how much of this movie was actually scripted. A
Yeah.
documentary that's scripted is okay, but then put a disclaimer on the
Right.
beginning. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot
So.
of calls for honesty, so people like that about you too.
Oh, that's so great because that gets me in trouble sometimes.
Well, let's talk about this movie called My Old Ass.
My old ass. Now, who wouldn't want to check out or at least be curious about a movie called My Old Ass, right? Well, okay, this is another feature film written and directed by a lady, Megan Park. And it's, what is this movie? Okay. It's a science fiction comedy drama kind of romance, and it's about a young girl played by Maisie Stella. She's a Canadian singer and actress. She's making her feature film debut here. She's really good. I don't know where she's been because she's good. She's got a career ahead of her if she wants to act in movies. And she plays this character named Elliot, who's just graduated from high school, right? It's summer, and she's killing time on her family's cranberry farm until she gets the heck out of there and on to college, right? She just wants a new life. And on one of these summer days, right, she's hanging out with her best pals. They're in the woods, and they decide to do mushrooms, right?
Okay.
So they all start tripping, and the result of Elliot's trip comes in the form of her coming face to face with a 39-year-old version of herself. That's Aubrey Plaza there on the left. It sounds dumb, but it surprisingly works. as a narrative device. And it's funny. It's funny. Aubrey Plaza plays Elliot as a 39-year-old woman, and Aubrey Plaza is just the best, in my opinion.
Yes.
And anyway, so the younger Elliot begins to have this kind of relationship with her 39-year-old self, who she hasn't yet become, and who, they text back and forth and have these funny conversations. But one of the things that her 39-year-old self cautions her about in her life, she says, whatever you do, and you're probably going to ignore this and do what you want to anyway, because 18-year-olds do that and they don't listen to adults, least of all their older selves. Whatever you do, she warns, whatever you do, don't get involved with a guy named Chad. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So that sets the stage for a reasonably written, reasonably wise, reasonably insightful, reasonably original, and ultimately very touching story about savoring the individual moments of life and living them fully, with advice about, not getting stuck in the past or worrying about the future, which hasn't arrived yet anyway, right? It's weird how we worry about the future when it's not there. And we don't know if that's the future that's going to be. And because when you do that, you worry about the future, you live in the past, which is, done and over with anyway, the past, right? You're not really living. You're worrying, you're regretting, you're stressing, because all that there really is, the one thing that we know exists, and really all that exists is the now, right?
Yep.
So let's work with that. That's what this movie's saying, and I loved that. I think it's a message for our time, our troubled times, and I just loved the movie. I liked it very much. I think it may become a kind of minor classic because of some of the notions, like what I just said, like that it traffics in. And the casting is good. The characters are funny. The character of Chad, oh geez, I don't have his name on the tip of my tongue here. Very good performances. The movie has a really nice, refreshing, and honest, youthful vibe about it. That kind of makes you think about like when you were that age. It's just a wonderful, wonderful film. My old ass.
And that's in
My old
theaters?
ass. Yes, it's in theaters. Yeah, yeah. I remember when the publicist told me about this months ago. I said, "You're kidding! You're repping a movie called My Old Ass." To me, it's funny just saying it. Anyway.
Okay, last on the list is called The Remarkable Life of Ibelin.
Ibelin, it's
Ibelin.
pronounced. Yeah,
Okay.
Ibelin. It's Norwegian. Yeah. Yeah, The Remarkable Life of Ibelin. And I'm going to give away my hand here. This is a truly remarkable film. It's a truly remarkable story. It's a documentary that it explores the profound impact of cyber, digital, online connection. Okay, that's the best way to describe it. It's done in this world of Warcraft gaming style, which is very interesting, which is to say that the narrative is furthered in this story by this animated recreation of these communications as they were written out amongst a group of gamers in what was called the Starlight community, where everyone in that community assumed a character and role played and interacted with each other. And the focus of the film is on this Norwegian boy. He's on the top of the poster there, handicapped with a disease called Duchenne, which is a severe type of muscular dystrophy, predominantly affecting boys. And the film documents his life, which sounds very conventional, but there's nothing conventional about this movie at all, which is another reason why I liked it. They used technology in a way that normally might irritate me and did not with this. They needed to do it the way they did it. The boy's name was Matt Steen. He was a Norwegian gamer who died. This isn't a spoiler because you find that out in the first 5 minutes. He died of this degenerative muscular disease at the age of 25. The title of the film comes from the name Matt's character was in the World of Warcraft and in the Starlight Online community. Ibelin Redmore was the character's name. That's the one he role played, and he described Ibelin as this famed detective and nobleman. Anyway, Matt Steen's life here is reconstructed because all this was put together after he died, by accessing the Warcraft archive, right, which consisted of 42,000 pages of Matt's as this character, Ibelin,
Wow.
and that he invented. And what this movie shows, oh God, is that Matt's, who was wheelchair confined, and who was, I think, his dad says in the movie, something like he was 8 years a major contributor and a co-author of this online community called Starlight. But when there, he got to experience love, he got to experience friendship, and he got to experience the feeling of making a difference in other people's lives, and where
Wow.
there were no limitations on his body. It's one of the most emotional films I've ever seen, and one that I think will bring anybody seeing it to tears. I don't want to say much more about it. I just highly, highly recommend it. This is probably going to go on my top 10 list. Um, I'm tearing up. I'm glad you only have a picture of me. You can't see my face. I'm tearing up just thinking about the effect
Wow.
that this movie generates. It's so,
Okay.
so beautiful. And you know, I always bitch about, you know, even when I'm with friends and they're on their phones and everybody's on their computers and nobody wants to. This is an example of where technology created this condition, this situation in this boy's life that he would never have been able to even remotely experience had that technology not existed, if that makes any sense.
Is it
Uh,
in Norwegian with English subtitles?
no, no. I would say about 70% of it is in English. I mean,
Okay.
the questions are in English. There's a little bit of Norwegian, but
Yeah.
most of the people and a lot of the people that are on camera are people that befriended him online
Hmm.
as other characters. It's really interesting. It's
Wow.
very meta, but it's also so. I mean, it touches the heart like no movie I think I've seen this year.
You're making
I
me
was
want to go see it.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, you don't even have to go anywhere because it's streaming exclusively. I think it dropped on Monday on Netflix.
Oh,
So
Netflix.
it's
Okay.
very, very accessible. It's just the perfect length at about an hour and 35 minutes.
Okay, you guys,
Uh,
you all know what we're watching this weekend. We got to go check this one out, right? On
Yeah,
Netflix.
if you
Okay.
see it, let me know what you think. I hope I'm not
Okay.
overselling it. It really, really got to me. When I think of it, I just get teary eyed. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful story.
If
Um,
anyone has a comment for Tim, you can always email it to me and I'll forward it to him so he can see what you have to say. It's Kim at the afterparty.live. You can
oh
email
my
me
God,
there. Yeah.
Kim, it's late. I didn't get on till late. You know,
I know. It's
I
true.
couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't get through. I was having issues over here. I don't know.
That's all right.
Anyway,
Do
well,
you have to go or do you have time for a quick recap?
oh yeah, no, I no, I was concerned that I was going over your time. No, let's do the
No,
quick
no.
let's do the
It's
quick
fine.
recap. Yeah, let's do the
All
quick
right.
recap. Okay.
The quick recap includes The Substance, which you said is a trip. You said it's thrillingly entertaining, it's bold, brilliant, and bloody. That should be on the top of the movie poster. You
Yeah.
said it's one of the best films of the year, and you recommend it. When it came to The Mistake, you said it's a very good movie. You said it's grim, but it's beautifully done, complex, great acting. You said this is a terrific movie.
Yes.
Will and Harper, not a good movie. You said it's too long, it's repetitive, it's trans on display in a cringy way, and you think this movie is very contrived.
Yeah.
My old ass. You called it a funny, touching story about living in the now. You loved it, and you can see this. You said becoming a minor classic. You said it's got a youthful, honest vibe, and you like this movie.
Yeah.
And then finally, the remarkable story or the remarkable life of Ibelin. Did I say it right
Hmm.
this time?
Yes, you did. Yes.
You said it's the remarkable in the title. It's true. This is a remarkable film. You love the
Yes.
way they use technology. It's life experienced online, emotional. You're going to need some tissues. You
Oh yeah.
highly recommend it. It's probably on your top 10 list of movies for 2024, and it's streaming on Netflix.
Right. And if you're like me, you know, where you don't always like to show emotion with people that you're watching movies with, watch this by yourself
Oh,
because I guarantee it'll tear you up in a big way.
my
Yeah.
family enjoys movies that are a little emotional, because
Yeah,
the
yeah,
movies where like most people won't cry, but if you're a little emotional, you cry. I'm always the
yeah.
one crying. So the minute something emotional happens, they all look at me like, "Is she crying yet?" So this is, this one's gonna get me.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, I think so. You're the emotional barometer in your family, then, in other words, huh?
Absolutely. Tim Sika, you are always awesome. Thank you for your thoughtful reviews, for coming on the After Party Live,
Oh, you're welcome,
and
Kim.
letting us know all about it at the
All
movies with
right.
Tim Sika. Woohoo!
Oh, good. Thanks for getting me on again this week. I love talking movies with you, Kim. Thanks.
Absolutely. Bye, Tim
Okay.
Sika.
Okay. Bye.